first started loving insects when I was probably a very tiny kid. I was turning over rocks in my mom's backyard. She got very mad that I didn't turn them back to where they were usually. And underneath I would find all sorts of cool things. Of course, I would put them in jars and keep them and observe them over time. But I didn't really think of it as an actual job until I got to college. One of my first big moments was when I was able to use a Berlese funnel. You can just take some leaf litter and you put it on top of this screen that's over top of a funnel. And there's a light above that. As the light dries out the material that the insects and mites are in, they run down through the funnel. And then at the very bottom of the funnel, you can collect them in alcohol, and then you can look at that underneath a microscope. I was startled by the diversity. I was shocked. And that's when I realized we need people to study this, and I like studying this. And so that's, I think, my moment when I really felt strongly that I wanted to go into this. As an entomologist, I share a lot of my passion about bugs and insects with other people. I teach about insects in my job as an associate professor. I teach classes about entomology and vertebrate zoology, just the biodiversity of organisms. And I also do a lot of research. Research satisfies the curiosity that I have about what is out there. I can ask questions about anything. Field work, as we call it, going outside to collect stuff, is one of the best parts of my job. I will do field work in some of the worst conditions because it is so much fun. I am not really a morning person, but for field work, I'll get up at the crack of dawn. I'll get up before the crack of dawn, so I can get there at dawn, because that's when the ants are going to be most active. And I'll go out and I'll get down on my hands and knees in the dark until there's enough light to find those ants. And as you're on your hands and knees in the dark, the bugs are creeping up on you too. They are finding you. And I would get so many ticks. I was doing my research in prairies, and there's a lot of deer and other animals that live in those prairies, and the ticks are abundant. But I would sit down in that grass. I don't care how many ticks I would get. It would make me happy that I was able to be outside and enjoy myself. And the ticks didn't bother me at all. I found as I started working on these creatures, little mites or later on other insects and things, I started finding that as I would maybe answer a question, 5 more questions would show up. I was a very curious person, and I kept track of some of those questions, and then I was able to follow up on them. And I think that as you're observing these little creatures, it's like a totally different world, this micro world of things. To just imagine what it would be like to be a little tiny bug. What are they experiencing, and what is it like in their environment? What are they responding to? What do they need to survive? What are they dependent on? And these are all great ecology questions, and it sent me off in a direction for ecology of insects. Science in general allows people to satisfy that curiosity. It allows them to explore things that they might never have gotten a chance to before. If you go into the sciences, you can do a lot of traveling to other places to answer questions. You can collaborate with researchers. They can collect samples in distant places and send them to you. So you can have a wide-reaching experience in the end. You can study something in your backyard if you don't want to go anywhere. You can study something in Antarctica if you want to go there. There are questions all around the world, and insects live on every continent. They live in every habitat. And so as an entomologist, I'm very lucky. No matter where I am, I can find insects, and I can ask questions about them in that particular situation. So an entomologist isn't a job that most kids think of as something that they could do. But it is an awesome job. And I found that as an entomologist, I'm very happy in my job, and most entomologists really are. We get to talk about bugs all the time. I mean, this is like a job that like kids love to do. They don't see it as like an end point, and so they forget how much they love bugs. But I never forgot. Really, there's entomologists working on all sorts of different things. You could study genetics of insects. You could study just the biodiversity of insects. You could describe new species. I did get to describe one new species, and I named it after my grandmother. As she hung it up on her fridge, she was so excited about it. There's people that do veterinary medicine with, mites and ticks and things that are on them. There's human health perspectives. If you're interested in public health and dealing with mosquitoes, malaria, all of those are really important for humans specifically. There's just ecologists. You can use insects to tell you about the quality of the habitat, and that's one of the things I do. I do a lot of insect ecology and biodiversity research. Insects make up 3/4 of all the animals that are in the environment. It's so important that we know about them, and there's just not enough people to study them. So please go into entomology.